Hello, Rob here. Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm at the TOYPALOOZA toy show in Pittsburgh. It's one of my favorite shows to go to, so let's head on in and check it out. I love the old fair mirrors from the dart games.
I'm gonna have to switch up some shorts when we start breaking it down.
I don't think so. Yeah, if not, my work's up through June 15th. So.
Since 1992, G.I. Joe worked with Hasbro worked with Capcom, who made Street Fighter video games. They made a crossover where they made Street Fighter characters in G.I. Joe scale. So most of these, any of these are test shots, prototypes for Street Fighter figures. So the nice thing, from an investment standpoint, you're getting two markets. You get both Street Fighter video game collectors as well as G.I. Joe collectors.
Wow.
So if you may be able to find someone, especially because...
And there's many of those?
There's a good number. And I mean, the other thing is, kids in 1990, people who were kids in 1992 who played the video game are now at this point 30, 40 years old. They're getting to the point in their career where they have disposable income and don't have kids, so Street Fighter could.
But we do have kids and we don't care.
I mean, that's fine.
You mean they're very, very young, that they just at this time, they're in a position.
So like compared to a 12-inch collector, people who played the G.I. 12-inch G.I. Joe, or the original, like the 60s figures. Yeah. So those people are now turning 60 and 70 years old, and they aren't added to the collection. They're downsizing the collection. So the 12-inch market is shrinking. Street Fighter video games, G.I. Joe, there's more supply than there is demand. So this guy over here, this guy is like the main good job in the Street Fighter franchise.
but it's kind of liquid diluted.
Dude, I've never been to a gathering.
I don't think too. Yeah. I'm good. I'm one of the biggest better. You can ask this with the medium dude right here. The biggest better in the area. We hate each other. The ones who play me down.
So what's the story with the $600 Ewok?
It's from Spain,
Okay.
1986. Just in Spain, they made a lot of Ewoks and droid stuff in the cartoons in Spain. They just made two blushes. They made her and they made Wicket.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So I'm back at home from the TOYPALOOZA toy show. And let me just start off by saying that this show was amazing. My wife and daughter were with me and we had a blast. And we pretty much stayed the entire time until the show was closing. So with that, let's take a look at my haul. Now these first items aren't something that I normally collect. But let's take a look and then I'll explain. And here's everything that we picked up. So let's start in the back. First we have a strawberry shortcake Ben Cooper costume. Now if you're not familiar with the Ben Cooper costumes, pretty much as a kid in the 80s, this is what you wore. And they're pretty basic. It was just a plastic mask, which could be very difficult to breathe out of and sometimes see. And then your actual costume was just this vinyl apron. You know, they usually had some of the characters or, you know, decor on there from the theme. So I thought this was pretty neat. Probably my favorite piece was the metal Pac-Man lunchbox. Now, the metal lunchboxes were discontinued, I believe, around 1987. I think Rambo was the last one that they made before switching to the plastic. Now, some say that it was because of the parents were basically banning them because their kids were using them as weapons at, you know, at school. And others believe it was just, you know, the manufacturers cutting down the cost, switching from the metal to the plastic. But it does have the thermos, which is usually the hard thing to find and what makes these a little bit more expensive. And then we have a Rainbow Bright plush and a Rainbow Bright Sprite. Next we have a Garfield plush. I actually think I had this one or one similar as a kid. But this one still had the tags and came with the box. Sticking with the Garfield, we have the 4 Happy Meal toys. We have an ET glass. Now, they had a bunch of these, but I like this one because to me this was vintage, you know, ET with the moon and the bike. And then we have a couple from the Popples. And I believe my wife said that she had this white one as a kid. I found this Ghostbusters Stay Puft Marshmallow Man pencil sharpener. And originally I thought maybe that this came out of a cereal box, but after a little bit of research, this is also another McDonald's Happy Meal toy. And then we have a Care Bears attachable on card, basically like a keychain. And then sticking with the Care Bears, we have a couple glasses from Pizza Hut. So we have Grumpy Bear and Tenderheart. So as a collector, I've pretty much taken over the entire basement of our house. When I added the flag a few years ago, I had to expand my toy room. And then when I added the Motu Origins Eternia recently, I had to expand it once again. And that is the reason why I'm currently in the process of moving my Star Wars collection to its own dedicated room, which my wife was not thrilled about at first. But she's always been supportive of my hobby, and hey, she knew what she was getting into when she married me, right? So anyways, we've decided to dedicate a small space to everything 80s pop culture related from our childhood. And that explains those recent pickups. And the three of us had a great time walking around the show hunting for these toys. But now it's time to move on to what I added for my collection. And let's start with 2 toy lines that I was not previously collecting.
If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
And here is the A-Team, released by Galoob in 1983. You have John Hannibal Smith, Templeton Face or Faceman Peck, Mr. T as B.A. or Bad Attitude Baracus, and Hallie Mad Murdoch. And I got all of these for $50, which was a great price. Now they're not 100% complete, but did come with a ton of accessories. Well, it's official. I am now collecting the Masters of the Universe 5.5 style knockoff toy lines. And it all started with this. So I saw this sitting on a table. I knew I'd seen it previously in other people's collections because of the saddle. But it wasn't around, you know, like any other 5.5 style figures. So I didn't know what line it belonged to. Well then, several tables down from that, I saw this one. With the Remco Lost World of the Warlord figure. And I knew this couldn't be a coincidence. So I did a quick search. And these 2 beasts are from Imperial. Their Dragons, Knights, and Daggers line, released in 1984. So I picked up the Saber-Toothed Serpent, and, you know, as I'm walking through the show, then I saw the 3 figures in the back. And what drew me to the table was he actually had some, I think, Galaxy Heroes, you know, carded. So he had these 3 in bags. I was talking to the guy, he was real nice. You know, he had little pieces of paper in the baggies to identify them, because I'm sure he gets asked all the time, you know, hey, what line are these from? And these 3 figures are from the Galaxy Fighters by Suco, which was a knockoff from the Galaxy Warriors that were done by Sungold. Apparently they changed the names of the figures slightly and gave them different accessories. Now, I did a quick search, and what I found out about the line was that the Galaxy Fighters came with 4 types of weapons. So you have a spear, you have an axe, you have like a pirate sword and a knight sword. They came with 4 types of shields. I think I have 2 different ones here. And they came with 2 different types of armor. So the figures were basically, you know, came with a hodgepodge of accessories. So it's hard to say, you know, what exactly came with each figure. So I guess as long as you had some armor, a weapon, and a shield, you know, you could consider them complete. So the first figure here, this is Mace Ape. And he did come with, like I said, armor and a shield. And this next figure is, it's like a wolf man. His name is Wolf Anubi. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And he also came with armor and a shield. And then the last figure is Baltard. And he was the only one that came with armor, weapon, and a shield. So by no means am I an expert on this line. So if I've said something wrong and you guys are familiar, you know, let me know down in the comments. So after I picked up those 3, then I had to go back and find the table that had the Rhino Avenger. And that was probably one of my last purchases of the day. But all in for the 3 figures, you know, the 2 beasts with the Remco figure, I paid about $130, which, you know, I was extremely happy with, and I'll definitely be looking to add more of these figures to my collection. I was able to add a few more boxed G.I. Joe vehicles to my collection, which is becoming harder and harder to do because I just don't see these as often as I used to, especially the earlier releases. So the weapon transport, the mountain howitzer, and the air defense, I all got from the toy department. And as you saw in my video, he had a massive G.I. Joe selection to choose from. His prices were fantastic to begin with, and I bundled all 3 of these together for $100. And the Cobra Asp I got from the same seller that I picked up that Pac-Man lunchbox. Next, I continued my recent trend of stockpiling and army building loose Star Wars figures. So, the 5 in the back, they were in a bin and they weren't priced, which normally drives me crazy. You know, so I asked the seller, I said, what can you do on these 5? I figured it'd be something astronomical, and he said $45, which was an awesome price because that Biker Scout alone with the blaster is a $30 to $35 figure. And then he had 15 on the Imperial Troop Transports with 2 beat up figures, and basically he ended up giving it to me for $10, so $55 in for that lot. Next, I found a Ziploc bag sitting on the table, so I asked the seller, you know, said, how much are these? He said $5 each. I figured I would try a new strategy. Instead of, you know, going through the bag and picking them out, I just said, hey, what would you do on the whole bag? And he said, well, how many figures are in there? So we did a quick count, and basically there was 33 figures. He told me $3 a figure at $99, and we settled at $90. Now there was a bunch in here that I didn't really need or duplicates, but when I did the math for the ones that I did want, it was only like $10 more because it came out to be like $80, so it just made more sense to grab the whole lot of figures. And I also continued my recent trend of adding more carded Star Wars figures to my collection, because let's face it, these things are not getting any cheaper. So picked up this Yoda on the Empire Strikes Back card. This is the Orange Snake version. Card was in great shape. Lays almost perfectly flat. Just a real small ding in the bubble. The hang tab was partially unpunched. And this is the 32B card back. And that brings me to my last item. Now, as a collector, we have all heard or used the word Grail a million times. And to everyone, it has its own meaning. Whether it's something you've been searching for a long time, the last piece that you need to add to finish out a particular toy line, or something that's just rare or hard to find and you don't come across that often. And this last item was definitely a Grail item for me, so let's take a look. From Star Wars Power of the Force line, released in 1985, here's the Ewok Battle Wagon. I could not believe when I saw this at the show, because either I'd never seen it in person before, or because I wasn't in the market for it at the time, I probably walked right past it. But now that I'm done with my last 17 run, and considering moving into the droids in the Ewok line, this was definitely at the top of my wish list. Now it is 99% complete. The only thing it's missing is the small brown J-hook, which attaches to the cage. And like all vintage Battle Wagon parts, it goes for a crazy amount. And even reproduction ones on eBay right now are going for $59, which is ridiculous. I bought this from Chris, who I've bought it from numerous times before. So I walked up to him and I said, "You know you want to sell this to me today." And he said, "Well, make me an offer." He had $500 on it. We looked it over. Because of the part that it was missing and the value of that part, we basically settled at $400. And I was extremely happy to add this to my collection. And that was my complete haul from TOYPALOOZA. I'd like to give a shout out to all the guys from D&E, Matt and Bobby, Hunter, Marshall, Kip, and the rest of their staff for putting on a fantastic show. If you guys have never been to the show, you definitely need to add it to your calendar. And if you want to see their store, check out my other video. I'll put a link in the description. So that's going to do it for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. If so, help support the channel and hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.